right here, and it's gonna. All right. Well, welcome everybody. This is our Vindec EU panel. We're going to start with my opening speech. So if you have your phones for that painting, this speech is about that painting. What's cool about the painting was last year I raised $2,600 for breast cancer, another $7,000 to hold the event. We paid for everything and actually didn't owe any money at the end, which was really cool. And during that, a lady who was my first victim, who I ever really interviewed, her name's Cherry Stoner or Jessica, and she has a story about being raped 3 times, so when she was young with a group of friends and then by guys she met on FetLife. And it kind of inspired the whole conversation around mental health and everything. So what I did is I reached out to her and I said, hey, listen, I'm going to give you the idea of what my speech is about, and you're going to create the painting, but you don't get to hear the speech, and I don't get to see the painting to the day of the event. And we revealed it. So what's cool is I gave her a concept and she painted the painting, which is about this speech. So I will go ahead and get started here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me today in this moment of reflection and revelation. As we gather here in the quiet transition from daylight to dusk, let me take you to a place that exists in the hours where the world quiets down. The hours that beckon for introspection and revelation. In the realm of my thoughts that occupy my mind, during these serene moments, imagine a gallery. This is no ordinary gallery. Here, each frame, each canvas holds not just pigment and shapes, but stories. Vivid depictions of triumph, despair, and the enduring conflict between. Among these artistic narrations is one that frequently captures my attention. A compelling portrayal marked by stark contrast of intense emotions. This piece is not merely an artwork. It represents a journey, a dialogue between the past and future selves. I call it breaking through. Envision, as you will, a scene divided by a glass window. On one side, a figure sits enveloped in shades of blue, deep hues of sadness and regret, and the inertia of the comfortable found in the familiar. This side of the glass represents a world where the time seems suspended. The air is thick, the weight of what has been, decisions made, opportunities missed, and the memories that haunt rather than heal. In this place, everything seems broken, dark, and stagnant. And the echo of those times where we find ourselves dwelling too deeply on the past, forgetting the lore of the future. On the other side of the glass stands a figure amidst a burst of vibrant colors, embodying energy, life, and the urgent desire to move forward. This version of myself, animated and determined, is not merely observing, but actively challenging the barrier that separates the past from the future. With hands pressed against the glass, this figure strives to shatter the confines, with the cracks slowly forming on the surface, a testament to struggle against the self-imposed limits of fear and regret. Central to this powerful scene is a clock, its hand set at 4:20. This is not just a time, but a symbol, a movement of peace and reflection in my own life. It reminds us that all time, relentless, unforgiving, marches on. If we do not seize the present, we risk being trapped in a cycle of permanent regret, forever looking back rather than stepping forward. Ladies and gentlemen, this painting is a mirror of my own life struggles and victories. It draws from the roots of a time filled with turmoil and confrontation of my own mortality, a near fatal car accident that shook my very foundation of existence. Laying in the wreckage, I was starkly reminded of life's fragility. It forced me to contemplate the legacy I was on, the path I would leave. Would it merely be memories or something more profound? The moments of clarity came on the heels of darker times, marked by the youth of the thought of marked with the youth thought of marked by youth fraught with specter of adolescent suicide, a time I almost injected myself with gasoline. I was just a young kid lacking purpose and vision. The car accident later, as an entrepreneur deeply invested in my dreams, presented a stark contrast. It wasn't just about survival. It was about what I was looking and working to build. It was a turning point that made me realize my life's own vulnerability and fleeting nature. The thought haunted me. If I had left Earth that day, what would have been left behind? Would I merely become a ghost, or would my actions create a lasting imprint? In the pursuit of what I've learned, the balance between chasing your goals and living in the present, I've created a platform where I no longer seek approval from others. My validation comes through the work that I do, the impact that I make, like the man in the arena. It's the effort, the sweat, and sometimes blood that validates my choices, not the specter's voice. The dark to the light concept of the painting represents life's narrow path and the sudden burst of opportunities that seem to explode into existence. Like vibrant colors illuminating a once dark canvas, it's about realizing the pinhole view we sometimes have is not the whole picture. Cracks in our foundations don't just signify collapse. They're openings for new growth and new beginnings. Each day I strive to live with awareness. I take moments to appreciate joy, spending time with my family, enjoying the scenery, or simply breathing deeply. Grateful for the chance to make each day count. Remembering the words of Jim Rohn, you're not going to make it out alive. It's a stark reminder that we all have an expiration date, but it's what we do before that date that defines our lives. As I foster community through my work, be through speaking engagements, my podcasts, casual interactions, I emphasize the power of listening and sharing. Real change comes from real interactions, from truly engaging one another's stories and using those narratives to inspire, motivate, and heal. This measurement of my impact may not be immediate, but the continued efforts through podcasts, events, and personal interactions, I see change. It's in the lives transformed, communities uplifted, and the legacy that will outlast my own voice. And so I invite you to start making your own changes. It begins with a step, a decision, a commitment to no longer be a passive observer of your life. Make a plan, set a goal, create a vision board, do whatever it takes to remind yourself daily of who you are and who you are inspired to be. So, welcome to Vindec EU. This platform was born on the belief that healing is not a luxury, it's a necessity, especially for entrepreneurs, creatives, and community leaders who are constantly expected to push forward no matter what they carry inside. Vindec EU is more than a name. It's a declaration, Romanian for I heal. It's a space built to honor the emotional journey behind the hustle. Through live panels, real conversations, and community storytelling, we hold space for moments most people hide: burnout, anxiety, trauma, imposter syndrome, and explore how to build something meaningful without losing yourself in the process. Our mission is simple. It's to normalize mental health struggles in entrepreneurship and leadership, to build a platform where resilience is celebrated, vulnerability is welcome, and healing is a part of the hustle. Whether you're a business owner, artist, or just somebody trying to keep it all together, Vindec EU is a reminder that you're not alone and you don't need to pretend to be. All right, so before I go to my next thing, I'm going to just hand out some stuff to you guys and just pass it down real quick. This is the outline. I'll give you an extra one here, so you have an idea of what will go on. So I'm going to go into the overview, and then we will get started. For those that don't know me, I'm Stefan. I'm the creator of Good Luck Steph, Madman Plant, Smoke Busters Media, Vindec EU. I'm a storyteller and a creative director and a mental health advocate. And I've produced mental health panels in California, Vegas, and up and down the East Coast. I've always focused on the intersection of healing, identity, and community. I've been featured at national events like the American Auto Flower Cup, MJ BizCon, for my advocacy around trauma, recovery, mental clarity, and high pressure spaces. I built multiple brands helping people navigate addiction recovery, suicide ideation, burnout, and the emotional weight that comes between being a leader and a creator. And that's why this panel exists. So before we dive deeper, I want to introduce one by one these amazing people on stage. These panelists are entrepreneurs, parents, creatives, survivors, and leaders, but most importantly, they're human. They have faced real life breakdowns behind the scenes through their business breakthroughs. Tonight, they're not here to impress, they're here to connect. So it's funny you're sitting right next to me. Actually, if you guys had switched, it would have been perfect. No, don't switch. I'm just saying, if you did, you would have lined up perfectly. So we have Julia Melton. Julia is an entrepreneur who has learned that recognizing triggers and the seasons was key to maintaining her consistency. Through counseling, boundaries, medications as a tool, and the focus on health, sleep, and nutrition, she built confidence in herself and her business. Julia is here because she believes no diagnosis or label should stop someone from creating and thriving a life and business. All right. And it's Calhoun. All right. I don't want to ever mess it up. Jennifer Calhoun is a small business owner navigating ADHD, therapy, and the everyday struggle of self-accountability. Alongside managing her business, she has faced breast cancer scares, her son's epilepsy diagnosis, and the grind of survival while running a company. Jennifer is here to share the truth that entrepreneurship isn't as glossy as it looks, and no one is alone in this struggle. I'm just going to go down the list. So it's you. Rob Marcus. Rob Marcus' life changed in 2023 when he lost both his mother and his 14-year-old daughter within days of each other. A mistreatment at his work during a time that led him to walk away and create Blue Stallion, a leadership company rooted in its values, vulnerabilities, and emotional intelligence. Rob is here because he knows true leadership starts with healing yourself first. And how do you pronounce her last name? Loescher. Kristen Loescher runs her business from home while battling ADHD and the constant distraction of life's demands. To-do lists, procrastination, and last-minute scrambles have challenged her, but exercise and community have kept her grounded. Kristen is here because she knows behind every productive business owner is someone learning how to fight loneliness and overwhelm while building. Perfect. All right. As you can already tell, this panel isn't about perfection, it's about permission. Permission to be real, to struggle, to grow. So let's get into it. So this isn't just about entrepreneurship, it's about survival. It's about how we heal and rebuild trauma, depression, burnout, anxiety, and grief, and the invisible battles we carry behind the scenes of our business lives. Whether you're a creative, a founder, a parent, or just someone trying to keep it together, or your head above water while building something meaningful, this is your space. Your story matters. So for the ground rules, now that we know each other a little bit better, all answers should stay in the time frames that they're given. Each section will have a different time limit for the things. Some are rapid fire, some are quick responses, some you have some time with. I'll pass a flash in the torch card here. So if you see this is my way of politely interrupting you and saying, as you know, in 212s and all network groups, you have about 30 seconds or less to move on. Yep. All right. But see, it says, pass the torch. You're doing great. See? Very nice. During the group discussion, quick supportive reactions or comments through the panelists are great, but keep them short and on topic so everybody gets a chance. Let's keep it real, honest, and most importantly, let's keep it as deep as our truth will allow us to go. So the first one is a round of 2 minutes per person. And we'll start with Julia and we'll go down. Give you the power of a microphone. There you go. Pretty cool.
I'm not too loud. Am I too loud?
No, I think you're doing great here. So let me get into my clock.
Are we passing the mic when we pass the torch?
No, you don't get the torch. I get the torch. You get the microphone.
Oh, man.
Do you want to hold the torch?
No, it's okay. I meant like, is the mic like the torch? Like we're passing it.
So on this first round, this is our opening question for all panelists. So you'll all each answer the same exact question. You'll have 2 minutes to answer the question. So you'll talk for 2 minutes. When your 2 minutes is up, you'll give it, and then all the way down. And then, Kristen, when you get it, you'll keep it, and then the next round will go just right back down this way. So it's not like, you know what I mean? All right. So, Julia, here we go. What part of being a business owner took the greatest toll on your mental health, and what helped you get through it?
I hear music. I'm sorry. I think what took the toll the most was thinking I had to do everything before I could start, or that I had to be responsible for the outcome. And I'm launching a podcast in December. I launched my website and wrote a book last year. And just if I looked at like the end product, it would shut me down and kind of intimidate. But learning just to start and realizing that you can have a start time and an end time. You can have boundaries. Not everything has to be done in one day, and just slowing down. Yeah.
Got 1 minute.
I think sometimes there's a good book out there called Rushing Woman Syndrome, and I think it can apply to men too, but we get stuck in this mindset that we have to do all the things. You have to check all the boxes, and really you just have to do the next task that's in front of you.
40 seconds.
I guess I don't have a lot to say on this topic. You guys have any feedback for that?
No, they get their own turn.
They get their own turn.
They get the same question.
Well, I think it's just the pressure we put on ourselves and the expectation we have for ourselves can be the biggest challenge. And boundaries can be a good solution. Boundaries with your time, boundaries with your work ethic, and having boundaries with those who put expectations on you.
Perfect.
Good job.
I do agree with you, though. Boundaries are probably one of the biggest things because you can run yourself dry and still get no results. You know, it's self-preservation. So I definitely connect with that. All right. Same exact question.
Can you repeat it?
I will definitely repeat it. I'll be repeating each question for everybody. So, Jennifer, what part of being a business owner took the greatest toll on your mental health, and what helped you get through it?
All right. So I think for me, it was probably the startup. Just trying to get licensing and all of those credentials behind you, and then trying to get your name established. I found myself in a position where I was trying to just take anything that was coming my way, because I was trying to get established, and I have children at home, and I'm thinking about, I got to pay the mortgage, I got to keep food on the table. But you're also trying to grow a business, and you're trying to get your name out there. And there's so much work that goes into it. And I think a lot of people think like, oh, I'm really good at this, I can start a business and it's just going to take off. But even with a ton of experience and references, and it's still hard. You still have to build your brand. You have to build your name. And along the way, you find that you don't have boundaries when you start. There's no boundaries on day one. You're almost desperate to start. You're just desperate to hit the ground running. I found myself kind of burnt out like 18 months into the process. And it was just okay, holy crap, what am I going to do? I got to take a step back. I'm not sleeping. My appetite's crushed. You're just stressed to the max trying to get going. And every lead, every call that comes in is exciting and exhilarating, and you're thrilled, but you're also just, it's so daunting because you want to secure it. You want to win it. And it's a tough balance to be in, knowing your worth, having boundaries, establishing your brand, all of those things. It's tiring. And I think a lot of times when you go into business, you underestimate how much effort it's actually going to take, and how much mental strain it's going to take to make it happen, because you're counting on yourself, and you have to be the one that pushes yourself every single day to get up and make it happen. And that's not always easy.
Hey, I got to use my card. Sometimes I don't get to use the card.
I was really trying for you, Steph. I was really
You're
trying.
doing awesome.
I agree.
But I like to add to you too. It's one of those things where you think you're really good at something and you're like, oh, I can make money doing this. And then you realize, oh, there's a business side of it. So actually doing what I'm good at is just now like 10% of it. And now here are all the hats I have to wear and the things I didn't think about because I knew I was just good at something.
Yeah, 1000%. You nailed it.
All right. Rob. All right. What part of being a business owner took the greatest toll on your mental health, and what helped you get through it?
So I think for me, I'm going to say something similar, but I'm going to put a little different spin on it. I think that the biggest struggle for me is, and has been, the morphing from the comfortability of having a job and that secure paycheck, right? And that money coming in, and straddling that line as you're going entrepreneur, and you're kind of on an island, right? And so, it all falls on you to make it work. I think if I'm being completely honest, I found my purpose out of the situation that I went through with the loss of Mom and Arissa. I don't know that I was in the smartest frame of mind to take the leap that I took at that time. That's water on the bridge now, right? I mean, it is what it is. You've got to work with it. But it probably was a little bit too soon. And so I'm sure that played, some role in a lot of the ups and the downs and that struggle. The bottom line is this: you don't succeed as an entrepreneur 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And you just have to figure it out. So if you're constantly thinking about going back, there's a good chance that it's not going to work. So that's the part of coping with it. Once you understand that and you go all in, sometimes you look, but you think you're taking steps back as you're starting a business, and sometimes you really look a little bit harder at it. And you realize you're not actually taking steps back. You're just going through that morphing and kind of a molting process where you're constantly re-emerging as you redefine what it is that you're doing, and you're actually taking steps forward. It just takes so long. Starting a business in today's environment especially is not easy. Social media is a huge player, so.
I totally agree with you. And I think that's the common misconception is business is easy because I have influence or I have knowledge or whatever. And it's really what you don't know is what you don't know. And I think that's the biggest thing is people perceive things to just be like I do this and then this is going to happen because of my action like this. It's like there's no like you do A and then B and then it creates C. It may not create anything. So I totally agree with you on that. Kristen, what part of being a business owner took the greatest toll on your mental health and what helped you get through it?
All right. So we started our business in 2020. If you can imagine how that goes. It's an events-based business. And so I went from being very excited at the end of 2019 and thinking, yeah, I've helped other people build their businesses before. I've worked in fitness in the area, have helped open facilities. I can build my own business now, right? I have the experience, and I felt like that was the next step for me. And I grew up playing sports, so I was always a part of a team, right? Whether that be through middle school, high school, college, and then you get into the workplace, and that's your new team of sorts, right? And you're there to encourage each other, push each other, challenge each other, hold each other accountable, right? And generally at work, you have a boss. So that big shift for me in 2020, not only was it like, oh, I'm on my own now, then COVID happened and my business disappeared. We had agreements that were lined up all through the end of 2020 for timings. We have a race timing business, and we were essentially taking over for someone who was retiring. So in theory, it seemed genius, right? Like, it's great. There's business already there. I just need to buy the equipment and, make things happen. And then it went away so quickly. And I went from feeling like, oh, I can do this, I'm so excited about this, to, oh, I think I just ruined our family financially. That was a great plan, because I guess it was humbling, right? And then also shifting to that feeling of being alone. And I think so many people felt that way during COVID. Small business owners feel that way a lot too. And so I guess my solution to that was getting involved in a lot of groups, right? So I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce. So being able to have lead share groups or networking groups like 212 I've been a part of, being able to connect with other business owners in the area and kind of, you can commiserate, right? Like, oh man, this happened, that was really bad. Or, hey, this happened, it was amazing. So you have to put yourself out there in the community with other business owners to feel, I think, encouraged and successful, because you just can't do it alone, period. You got to ask for help. I'm not good about asking for help.
Perfect.
Yeah, we're not.
Well, and I think that so too. I think with asking for help, there's a pride thing. You don't want to be a burden on people, and then two, sometimes you just don't know how to ask for help, and it's more honorable to just go down with the sinking ship than beg for the Coast Guard to save you. You know what I mean? So it's like you can sit there and cry, or you just like die. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So segment 2, these are rotating individual questions. So these are specific. You have up to 5 minutes if you want to take that time, which I encourage you do. Since you're already there, Kristen, with the microphone, we're going to start with you first. So working alone at home can feel isolating and distracting. How have community and exercise become non-negotiable in protecting both your sanity and your business?
Okay, so I definitely have learned that if I don't get out of the house, it's a very bad day. So for me, exercise has always been a part of my life, because again, it kind of goes back to growing up playing sports. Your body and your brain produces good things, right? Positive things. You have endorphins flowing afterwards. So it lifts your mood, right? It's instantaneous almost. So I have exercise that's a part of my life almost daily, right? And the work that we do is actually physical. So this morning I timed a race. I did not go to a Pure Barre class today because I was hauling equipment back and forth, and I got plenty of steps in. Don't worry, guys. So I canceled my Pure Barre class. I was like, I've done enough work. So I think it's that piece of showing yourself grace too, when you know that physically you don't have to push yourself and go to a class unless you want to. So I do get that sense of community from the Pure Barre community. I helped to open that studio in 2021. And what brought me there was, my business was a hot mess in 2020. It was a dumpster fire. I needed to find work. And like you mentioned, the steady paycheck, right? Where you have that comfort of, okay, money is coming in. We don't have to sell a kidney. So the exercise is key for me. Definitely. It's a non-negotiable. And then the community piece, it's twofold. I feel like it's a way to give back, right? So when you're connecting with other business owners and being able to connect on a stage like tonight, to be able to have that opportunity, you never really know whose life you might touch, right? You never know who might be listening. You never know who might need that word of encouragement, because you don't know what they're struggling with, right? And so whether it be going to meetings, going to exercise, whatever it is, or just smiling at the person walking down the street, right? You don't know what you can do to change that person's whole day. Hold the door open. I mean, where have manners gone sometimes, right? it's amazing if I hold the door open for an older couple or anyone in general, they're like, oh my gosh, that was so nice. And to me, I'm like, well, yeah, you should hold the door open for someone who's older than you. So it's just, I think being able to feel as though you're giving back, whether it be through community service or just engaging with friends, right? Friends, family, being able to connect, being able to share your struggles. So a lot of times when we're meeting in the networking groups, I'm a part of a lead share group with David Frazier. And for those of you who know David, he's hilarious, right? And he has a way with words. And so sometimes you're like, oh, well, I don't know, what kind of problems do you guys have? And so it sparks a lot of conversations that then I think opens the door for hearing that other people are struggling with the same things that you're struggling with business-wise, or you may get advice from another business owner who recently solved that problem. So, I feel like there's so many different cool ideas that come out of our meetings sometimes too, where I'll say like, hey, I'm having this race right now. So we have a race coming up. It's called the Plaid to the Bone 10K. It's lumberjack, lumberjill themed. And so, of course I mentioned it at the meeting and they're like, you got to have axe throwing. You got to have whatever. Somebody play the bagpipes, right? So there's all of these cool ideas that have been added to the race because it's going to be weird. And David just looks at me and he's like, so it's going to be fun and weird. And I was like, yeah, fun and weird. And I wouldn't have necessarily come up with all of those ideas on my own. So being able to connect, if I don't, like I said, if I don't get out of my house, I didn't realize, even though I am an introvert, and I feel like after a lot of time with people, I need to go home and put myself under a blanket and pretend no one else in the world exists because I need to recharge. I didn't realize how much I needed other people. And I was getting that because I've worked in the fitness industry in the area for 20 years, right? So I was getting those little hits of just positivity, because generally when people are coming to the gym too, they're in a good mood. If they're not beforehand, they're going to be when they're done. So you're getting just the smiling faces, checking in. Hey, how are you? How are the kids? What's so-and-so doing? I had no idea how important that was to me until I started to work from home and I realized that COVID was soul crushing on so many levels for me and so many people, right? The kids that were in school, the parents that were trying to put their kids still through school and teach them at home while they were learning through iPads or whatever. That was a joke. So, but we don't have to get into COVID stuff. I think it comes down to you can't do it alone. And so by having a fitness community and a business community of people that you can trust is key. Am I close to my 5 minutes?
Yeah, you have 2 seconds left.
Oh, good. Hey, that's pretty good. Thanks. And I didn't get carded.
She knows how to do a 30-second pitch, a 5-minute pitch, like right on time. But I agree. The only time is when you get mad at the gym because you didn't get to use the machine you wanted to go for. Lacey has that problem. She's like, I didn't get to use that machine. And I'm like, oh, well. She's like, no, that's what I came for. All right. Rob, losing your mom and your daughter within weeks is imaginable. How did grief shape the way you lead today? And what does leadership look like when healing is still going on?
There's a lot in that question. So that put me into an immense reflection, self-reflection. Luckily, I had my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, to help me through that, because when you go through that type of scenario, you've got to have somebody there. That's just the way it is. What came out of that reflection was a lot of looking back. Arissa was 14 years. I also have a son who at that time was, I guess, 11. When that happened, and you start to realize and think about all the things that you missed and why. And climbing that corporate ladder and the strive for what we define as success, and the bulk of today's work environment and society is getting the promotions and getting the money and getting the responsibility and everything that comes with the titles and all of that stuff. And then something happens that takes you off of that pedestal and makes you really realize that none of that means anything. And so the problems that ensued with my job at the time, and I was a senior executive with the company, right? I report directly to the CEO, and I got what I feel is mistreatment. There's obviously always two sides to a coin, but what I started to think about is, if I'm at this level and having this problem, what's happening to all of these people in the country, in the companies that don't have that level of voice? And why? Because we get tied so far down into the grind, and as business owners and corporations and boards get tied so much into the money and the excitement and all of that, it just keeps snowballing. And there's a lot of people that are walking around right now miserable at work, and it all falls back to poor leadership. Horrible leadership. Why? Because nobody's learning it. Nobody's being taught it. And arguably, I think in today's society, morality is taking a back seat to a lot of other things. And so what used to be kind of automatic, like opening doors for older people, right? And having those manners and everything, aren't there anymore. And when you think about it, that's affecting how we treat humans, each other. Leadership boils down at its most basic level to one thing: the golden rule. Do unto others as you would want them do unto you. Yet we need so much help with it. We forget it. As we get older, we move further and further away from it, and we have nothing but excuses. So that's why Blue Stallion came about, and that was my answer leaping in to try and get involved in the movement. So what was the other half of your question, though?
I'm going to read you the whole question again.
Okay.
Losing both your mom and daughter within weeks is unimaginable. How did grief shape the way you lead today? What does leadership look like when healing is still ongoing?
Yeah. So what's leadership look like when healing is still ongoing? You push through it. I've found my purpose, as I said earlier, and I'm very passionate about it. And it keeps me going, and family keeps me going. But when you have a higher goal that you're chasing with that level of passion, that's what pulls through. The grief, I've come to learn this, and I didn't know this before I went through all this, but the grief never goes away. That's the reality. And as much as I hate to say it, it's not as much about mom, because that's more natural, but it's a lot about losing my daughter, because that's the reverse order of how the world is supposed to work. So that's never going away. I had a student in our leadership class ask me, because we were working through purpose and why with a group. So I share, and he looked at me and he said, "How do you do this? Like, how do you do this and get through it if all of a sudden that sneaks up on you?" And the only thing I can think of, because it does, is that it's that higher purpose, and I do it for the most part in honor of her too, right? But that's how you push through. You have to have that higher understanding of what you're doing and trying to make that impact.
Great. And thank you for sharing. I'm so sorry for your loss. I mean, you are completely right. That is the absolute reversal. You're not supposed to bury your kids. They're supposed to bury you. Yeah. And I just couldn't imagine that. And it's great to be able to be like kind of like the phoenix bird and be able to rise from the ashes and find purpose and find value. And I think that's one of the greatest things about like people that are in mental health is all of them have come from some bad form of mental health. Yeah. And that's where the clarity and the gratitude and the really like self-appreciation, I feel like really comes in. So thank you for sharing that again. All right. Jennifer, running a business with ADHD and through life crisis takes grit. How do you balance survival mode challenges with still showing up as a business owner?
I mean, it's tough. There's absolutely days where I don't want to get up. I don't want to show up. I don't want to be there. But you don't have a choice. You really don't. Your livelihood is contingent on it. You know, and you know, as you were saying, once you commit to it, you find your purpose, and you're committed to it. You know, you're in it. And so I think it's just one of those things that's in you. If you either have the grit or you don't, kind of thing. I think a lot of people that have the grit, it comes from, you know, candidly going through shit in life. It's just that, you know, I've never met another strong woman who hasn't been through shit, right? So, you know, it's tough because life is going to hit you regardless. You know, I had a breast cancer scare. My son got diagnosed with epilepsy this year. You know, all within the first 4 years of me opening my doors of business. And I'm in a large 6-figure lawsuit for someone who didn't pay their bill. All of those things in 4 years is, I think, an astronomical load to have on someone's shoulders while you're still trying to build your brand and survive. So it's, there's definitely been days where I can't keep it. There's just days where I'm like, I'm just not going to do it today. I need a mental health day. And you know, a lot of people are afraid to say that, but it's the reality. There are days where I do get up and I'm like, you know what? I need to hit pause. I need to deal with my son's issues. I need to worry about myself. I just need a day of rest, you know? So I think it's a blend. It's the grit that's already there. And then it's also just trying to keep your dream alive, keep it going. You know, in the back of your mind what you have to do. But life is still going to throw curveballs at you regardless. So I think it's more of an entrepreneur mindset. It's really not for the weak of heart or the weak of mind, really. I'm not, you know, I think I answered it. Do you want to read it one more time?
You got 2 minutes and 50 seconds. Do you want me to read your question?
Yes, please.
Running a business with ADHD and through life crisis takes grit. How do you balance survival mode challenges with still showing up as a business owner?
Yeah, I think the other half of that equation, truthfully, is, you know, I have a doctor for my ADHD, and I'm on medication for it. I've been medicated for a long time, and that certainly helps. And then the other part of it is I go to therapy, you know, and I'm not ashamed to say I go to therapy. I've been in therapy for 10 years, and sometimes I need that every other week session. You know, sometimes it just pops in at the right week, and it keeps you going. It's good to talk about the struggles, and that's why when you asked me to do this, I said, let's do it. Like, we need to talk about it more. You know, we need to not be afraid for the self-care, the mental health help. Talk to a therapist. If you're depressed, get antidepressants. It's not the end of the world. You may not need them forever, but it may help your circumstances now. So I think it's a combination of things that make the grit possible, right? I'm not just doing this because I just have the grit. There's other components. There's the taking the days off when you don't want to, when you shouldn't. There's the medication aspect of it. It's going to therapy. And, you know, one thing I had to learn was to lean on community as well. You know, talking to other people in business is actually therapeutic, to know that, like, holy crap, you're going through the same exact things, and your business model may look different, you know, but we're all going through the same struggles, the same aloneness. We're all trying to, you know, essentially grow our brand and make ends meet, right? Like, that's the first 5 years of business. So I think it's just a culmination of things. And I hope if anyone hears this, don't be afraid to talk to a therapist. Like, let's nix the stigma.
You got 48 seconds.
Oh my gosh, I gotta keep going.
I know you don't realize how long 5 minutes is until you have to talk for 5 minutes.
Right, but it's a long time. It's a long time.
Anything else?
I think that's really it.
Okay. Well, I did want to add, and actually to touch on Julia's, is I have ADHD. I've been on Ritalin, Concerta, and Vyvanse when I was younger, and it kind of made me like a zombie. But lately, for my life, I was like, I need the focus. I need to be able to discipline. I can't do it on my own. So it's kind of like what you were saying when I read your thing is also looking at medication and therapy as tools, not like,
They're not
like
a
you're
crutch.
damaged and you need these pills for the rest of your life to regulate to be normal. It's using them as like a tool and saying, okay, I need to achieve this goal in my life, which is getting better. And if I can use these medicines, it doesn't mean forever. It just means to get through what you need. So I like that. And I agree with you 100%. I love therapy. I have a great therapist. So
Everyone needs one.
Julia, you talked about how learning your triggers and building boundaries helped you find consistency. What is one safeguard or daily habit that changed your confidence the most? I can read it again too.
No, I'm thinking. I got it. So there's this statement I'm going to say, and it's not mine, but the body keeps score. So if you've been through trauma, if you have a diagnosis or there's some imbalance, you can find, like, for example, I'm bipolar, and every August to October, I start to climb into mania. I know that this was a season where a lot of my trauma accumulated in my 20s. So learning what that, like, realizing the nervous system and your body, like, even though I've walked through the emotions, I've talked to a counselor, I worked on things, now the body has to heal. So taking medication is a tool, and it comes with its own side effects and needing to heal. And learning that triggers are not just maybe someone asking me a hard question or having a bad day or seeing something that reminds me of my trauma. It can be the wind blowing or a smell. It could be the sound of a train. It could also be the histamine in the environment. So when you start to learn that some of these other things, you learn your seasons. And I think the one thing that I've put in as a safeguard to give me that confidence to move forward is to address the seasons before the trigger. So boundaries with sleep, boundaries with the cell phone, boundaries with how I'm eating, movement, making sure that my non-negotiables are being met daily. I guess it's like that. I forget the guy's name, but his list of that pyramid of needs they talk about, like everybody needs to have PAS. Thank you. So yeah, the PAS, your needs need to be met, but then like putting in. So I know in August ragweed is high. I know that tomatoes have histamine and they're in season. I know that if I eat a lot of high histamine foods at this time, if I'm outside a lot at this time, it's going to affect my sleep. The barometric pressure of hurricane season is going to affect my sleep. If I don't sleep, I'm going to start to climb into mania. If I'm feeding it and not rewiring the brain pathway, if I'm not addressing the root of the problems and I'm just thinking I'm off, and yes, medication is a tool and I use some. I have some medications that can help, but looking into those alternative medications and really just realizing that this season is coming, what can I do to prevent it? So does that answer the question?
Well, it answers it for me, but you still have 1 minute and 36 seconds.
Okay, so I think another thing that we don't realize when the body is keeping score is trauma affects the nervous system. So that can cause other things. Your nervous system regulates your hormones, your other systems, and when that gets off, sickness can come in, cancer can come in, and you're more susceptible to chronic illnesses and inflammation. I think they say 1 in 4 people have an autoimmune disease, and autoimmune can be turned on by cortisol, the nervous system. So if you are going through trauma, if you are having just histories of things, and then if you pair having a chemical balance on top of it, something like ADHD or bipolar or depression, it can become a perfect storm for a mess. So there's things you can do. There's exercises you can do for the nervous system. There's something I do every day that I learned from my nutrition counselor. She calls it legs up the wall. You just lay, you put your legs up the wall for 10 minutes. It pushes the blood back to your adrenals and kind of, it's my morning into afternoon. I'm a mom, so I come home from my day. My 6-year-old's about to come home, and I'm like, I gotta calm down from my day before I can address his day. And then learning just like what foods can trigger your mental health, and maybe not eliminating them completely, but limiting the access to them. So those
Wonderful.
safeguards. Yeah.
I like the self-preservation. It's knowing like your good and your bads. And I actually had a situation the other day when we were here at Always Flavor. I was having a really rough day. Honey barked at another dog, and I just had to go home. Like, I was just like, you know what? For my own safeguards, for my own well-being, I just need to remove myself from the situation. And by putting your feet on the wall, or doing those exercises, or just knowing that in order to be able to handle somebody else's day, I need to handle mine first. Is really good, because it's not just relying on the medication or just some fancy affirmation. It's putting yourself first by actually physically doing something to change. So that's very awesome. All right, segment 3. Now this is a 1-sentence only answer. Fast, honest, and real. Imagine that you're texting me, right? So we're going to go down and back. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we'll each answer them. So here we go. And like I said, it's fast. So starting with Julia, what's one safeguard or habit that keeps you grounded when everything else feels unstable?
Square breathing.
Perfect. All right, next. What's one safeguard or habit that keeps you grounded when everything else feels unstable?
Waking up at the same time every day.
What is one safeguard or habit that keeps you grounded when everything feels unstable?
Sitting outside and listening to nature.
What is one safeguard or habit that keeps you grounded when everything feels unstable?
Morning coffee when no one else is awake.
Yeah, there we go. All right. I don't drink coffee, but I know what you mean. All right. So we're going to go back down. This is the next question here. When motivation disappears, what's one thing that still gets you to show up?
Deadlines. I mean, we're hosting events every week, so I really can't go too far off course. So I've got to stay on task.
When motivation disappears, what's one thing that still gets you to show up?
Purpose and helping people.
Yep. When motivation disappears, what is one thing that gets you still to show up?
It's my own desire to do what I say I'm going to do, so that people know that I will follow through regardless of the circumstances.
Wonderful. When motivation disappears, what is one thing that still gets you to show up?
Discipline. Having those habits that I've built and just consistently applying the discipline.
Fantastic. What's the hardest part of working alone, and how do you fight it?
I would say discipline, because if you're reaching out and you're relying on someone else, you're looking for outside motivation, you have to start the ball rolling to it to keep, something has to push the ball to get the momentum, to have the movement. So discipline is the same answer.
Fantastic. What's the hardest part of working alone, and how do you fight it?
I think it's isolating. just, sitting behind your computer, plugging away all day, working on paperwork. There's nothing exhilarating about that. For myself, I try weekly to get out and either have lunch or a networking event or just catch up with a friend. It's just trying to get out of that from behind the screen.
Wonderful. What is the hardest part of working alone, and how do you fight it?
Yeah, I think it's the isolation, and you just got to power through it. It's the discipline, like she said.
What is the hardest part of working alone, and how do you fight it?
So this is actually a great question, a good example, because tomorrow one of my employees is coming to my house to help me work through things. Because I think, sure, you can be disciplined, you can do these things, but I think also too, it comes to a point where the task will get finished that much faster when you just pull in one more body. I think there's some ADHD sort of tricks and stuff too, where you're working like parallel with someone, right? You might just be sitting in the same room as them and you're not doing the same things, but you're both sitting there focused and working for an hour or two. I don't know. Maybe we need to have like a finishing party or something. Hey guys, come to my house and we are just going to force ourselves to do all these things.
You're awesome. What's one hardship that completely reshaped how you see business and leadership?
Oh goodness. Ask that question again. I'm thinking.
What is one hardship that completely reshaped how you see business and leadership?
Definitely COVID. I would say, nothing is really guaranteed in business. And I think I thought I had all my ducks in a row. The business was going to go. Clearly, no one could have anticipated that happening and all of the shutdowns. Having a plan B, always having a plan B, right? Or knowing that you have other skills you can fall back on if you have to go back to taking a full-time job like I did.
You got to do what you got to do. And that's the thing that people understand too is, failure isn't because you have to do alternative things to survive in business. Those are just the things that you either go to work for somebody or you figure out how to make it work for yourself, and that's kind of like the philosophy. I'm like, what am I going to do? Go get a job? Good luck in, pay the same amount or being able to do the same thing. So what is one hardship that completely reshaped how you see business and leadership?
So I don't know if you would consider this a hardship, but the reality that not all good ideas sell and work as a business. And so you've got to reorient yourself to succeed, right? You have to adjust. So you have to work through it.
Fantastic. What is one hardship that completely reshaped how you see business or leadership?
I think it was the personal issues that I was having myself. It really gave me more empathy. I have a lot of subcontractors. I own a construction company. So I work with a lot of various amounts of people. And I think it made me have a little more empathy and understanding just towards all the different people that I work with, from homeowners to contractors to, like owners, reps. We all kind of think everyone is just having a great day all the time. And that's just not true. And I try to just have more empathy and lead with empathy. And it has changed. It's changed a lot of my relationships and dynamics in my business.
Wonderful. What is one hardship that completely reshaped how you see business or leadership?
So disappointment. So the hardship of, you have this plan, you have this idea, and then it doesn't work. Or for example, I was competing in a pageant as title holder with the influencing business, the Jewel of the Burg, and I had to step out of that for family matters, things that come upon the family, and learning to pivot. It's like, okay, I'm disappointed. This isn't going the way I thought it was going to go, and now I have to have the ability to pivot. So learning to pivot. Yeah.
Fantastic. I agree. When I was on my tour last year, there were some things that happened, and it's one of those things where either the show goes on or you draw the sand in the line and you just go home and never show up again. So it's one of those things where, what are you going to do in that moment, you know? And also I think so too, is realizing that you're not running the same race as everybody. If you have to drop out, it's not because of failure. It's because of just different things that are happening. And that can be hard when you're competing.
Yeah.
So I totally agree with that. This time we have 15 minutes that will open up to anybody that has any questions, and I will get a microphone. Does anybody have any questions for any of the guests? No. Whoa. This is a lively crowd here. Okay. Well, then we will skip that part. All right. So we're going to my bonus round. So usually I have 5 people, but there's 4. This is the letters that were never mailed. And I actually had a great success with this on a veterans mental health panel that I did that really opened up a lot of tears and voices. So we're going to start with Julia. And what this is you're going to write a short, honest letter to something or someone that shaped your healing journey. It can be to your younger self, your business, a client, your mental health, a loved one, or even the struggle itself. These letters are not about being polished, they're about honesty. So about 4 paragraphs, if you will, of what you've never sent but always carried.
I did my homework and I didn't even know this was homework. So I did this as part of therapy. It was an assignment from a therapist to regain my story. So, okay, I'll let's see. I'm not going to say who it's to. Dear Anonymous, I can't imagine what it was like for you to wake up to my lifeless body, to try to wake me, and I didn't blink, I didn't move, to have to call for my parents and call 911. I don't know what it was like for you in the hospital during the spinal taps, during the test, and when I finally woke up. Never took into consideration what you went through while I was carrying my trauma. If I could tell you one thing, it would be thank you for staying by my side. Thank you for calling 911 that day. And thank you for fighting for my healing. You gave me grace, you gave me space, and it's not something I can repay, but only pay forward. I appreciate that and never may know the weight it had on you. And I'm sorry, Julia.
That was awesome. That was really great.
And we have to follow
good.
behind
Give her
that.
an applause. That was really awesome. Great job. Do you want me to read you the prompt again?
Yes, please.
Okay. Write a short, honest letter to something or someone that shaped your healing journey. It could be to your younger self, your business, a client, your mental health, a loved one, or even the struggle itself. These letters are not about being polished. They're about honesty.
So this letter would go to my children. And I will get emotional, but when I had my daughter, that was the catalyst for me to try and do better, be a better human, work through my own shit, and try to be a better mother for her that I didn't have. And yeah, so, to my Renee, I feel like you saved me. So thank you. You really don't know the impact that you had on me. I had you very young, but you made me grow up. You made me get my stuff together. And man, I am so proud of how far we've come together. And I think the proof is in the pudding. She's a great kid. And yeah, I'm just so thankful for you, girl. Love, Mom.
That was awesome. Put it down. All the way. Oh, don't step on that. All the way down. Honey, get readjusted here for a second. Great job, by the way. That was fantastic. No, it's okay. It's about honesty and allowing you to go as deep as your honesty allows you, and that's perfect. Rob, write a short, honest letter to something or someone that shaped your healing journey. It could be to your younger self, your business, a client, your mental health, a loved one, or even the struggle itself. These letters are not about being polished, they're about honesty.
Okay, so I guess this letter is dual purpose, goes to two people. My wife, Shindell, and also my son, Landon. I can't imagine how hard it was to be there for me when the world got flipped upside down. I know that, while I never went as far as some other people did, maybe you realize it or maybe you don't, but I was definitely turned in that direction. And if it wasn't for you guys, your spirit, your love, your support, no matter how ugly things got, your patience, I don't know if I would have made it. That's the reality. Supporting my crazy idea of trying to change the world with leadership, and both you and Landon, when certain people didn't agree or think that it was a worthy journey, looking at me and reminding me not to let that kind of negativity take away my purpose and my passion and my dream. And as we continue through the journey with life and the business, things don't look like they once did. It continues to be hard, but your support and love and affection through it all is a big part of the drive that we're doing together. And you have to get through the fire to get to the other side. So here we go.
That was a great job. All right. Write a short, honest letter to something or someone that shaped your healing journey. It could be to your younger self, your business, a client, your mental health, a loved one, or even the struggle itself. These letters are not about being polished, they're about honesty.
Okay. Mine is, dear former boss, thank you for saying what you said to me when I turned in my 2-week notice. Because when you looked so shocked and said, what else are you going to do? That showed me a few things. It showed me you felt like I wasn't capable of doing something else or doing something more, or that I had arrived in the position that I was in. And thank you, Target, for then having this mug, which I know sounds crazy, but there was a mug that I saw at shopping at Target later that week, and the mug said, actually, I can. And I was like, oh, I'm getting that mug. And it's still one of my favorite mugs that I pull off of the shelf. And I think of this former boss every time I drink out of it, because now here we are, year 6 in business. We survived, the first 5 years. All of the stress, all of the times I think I wanted to quit, all of the other people on the stage, I'm sure you've had moments where you wanted to quit. Thank you for, in a way, not believing in me, because it made me so determined to be successful, to prove you wrong, and that I didn't need you. I didn't need to work for you anymore. And because I don't think that's full 4 paragraphs, I'm going to say kind of one overarching thing that I think everyone in the room can kind of agree with. It's, dear life, thank you for being really hard at times. right? For bringing us to our knees, for making us feel like we can't go on and going through some really hard things. Because by getting through those things and then being able to interact with other people, I feel like you can never really truly relate to someone unless you've walked that really hard path yourself. And there have been a lot of hard things that I've gone through, thanks life, that I've been able to then share with other people and talk to them and carry them through some really tough times and say like, hey, it's going to be okay. There is a rainbow after the storm. You know, there's light at the end of the rainbow, whatever it is. Yeah, thanks life. Sometimes you suck. Sometimes you're really great.
That's awesome.
And we all pretty much almost cried. So thanks, Steph.
Yeah.
What's that?
And we all were pretty much crying too. Thanks.
I have a body count when it comes to making people cry. I used to announce the
He just
numbers.
added 4 to his
Yeah, I
body
used
count.
to announce the numbers, and people are like, "You shouldn't talk about how many people you make cry," you know, because not everybody's gonna think that's a great thing. So, so what you heard tonight wasn't performance; it was process. Healing the hustle means showing up for yourself, even when you don't feel ready. To our panelists, thank you for your courage. To our audience listening, thank you for listening. Anyone still fighting silently, you are not alone. Your story matters, and you have permission to rest, recover, and rise. And that concludes our panel today. And now it's time for open networking.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, no problem.
And thank you for creating this space. That's great.
Oh yeah, no, it's my new platform that I'm working on, and right now I don't want to say too much, but I'm working with an actual university, and this could all be put into their curriculum, so this could be very big. So it goes like that, but it goes kind of on the same placement that you have is when you like see something unjust or you feel a certain way. You can either become a bystander and just somebody that just observes what happens, or you can actively like pursue your life. And I think a lot of times when it comes to waking up and feeling like somebody, it's the pursuit action of doing something that you feel is valuable, whether it's a business, whether it's, dancing, whatever it is. And I think a lot of times through life, especially entrepreneurism, you get beat up so much. Everything really revolves around how your business does. And sometimes you forget to like smile or be happy because you're so either like frustrated or you're angry or things are happening that you can't control, or you got, now family matters are tying into it. And I think a lot of times is we bottle it all up and we just expect it to go away. And the way I deal with it with my therapist is, talking about it, especially the hard things. Like for instance, my grandfather is 104 and right now I'm pretty sure he has like dementia, and then lately he hasn't been getting out of bed. And so now he's just like sleeping all the time. So you kind of know what happens next. And I went over there the other day and I didn't realize how far gone like he was. And I was really emotional. But there's 2 ways to handle it. You can face your pain and realize that it is going to be painful. And now, even though it is painful, I go every Sunday just so I can build like that closure and that therapy for myself, so I can continue to be strong and move forward instead of pretend that it's not there, let it build up, and then, it does something violent to my progress or my goals. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of times too is we, even like with our relationship with death, my therapist and I talk about death a lot, and you should have a relationship with it. It shouldn't be strange or taboo. It's a normal part of life, and like even sometimes like when I'm sitting next to him, I don't even know what to say, but sometimes it's not about saying anything. It's just about being present, and I think a lot of times we forget that it's okay to not have everything together. It's okay for not everything to be currently working in our lives. And it doesn't mean that we're failing. It just means that right now it's not where we want it to be. And I think it's a constant battle when you have to support a family or a business or a narrative versus, somebody that works a 9 to 5 where they get a paycheck. So they have family problems. It doesn't matter. They're still getting paid. They can get time off. Us, if we're the leaders of our businesses, if we take time off, that's time away from our clients. So sorry, I'm a little rant. See, that's why you don't give me the microphone. I'll let you guys talk. But anyways, we are all set. Guys, we'll have another event next September, and it was great. I'm going to end the live, and then we're done.
Thank you so much.
Awesome, guys.
Thank you.
Bam, bam.
This is for you, right?
Yeah, that's mine. You want your own?
No, I meant like the timer and this. You're the one that needs it.
Yeah.
You just made me comment. Don't give me the mic.
Oh, I do need it. Yeah, exactly.
Bye,